And news are tonight. World Bank projects 139 million Nigerians face poverty despite reforms. Reps reject U.S. bill accusing Nigeria of religious killings. 13-year-old 36 cattle killed in New Plateau attack. On the foreign scene, Madagascar protesters spurn president's call for talks. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Idris Dayebaturi. Now, the World Bank has warned that around 139 million Nigerians are now living in poverty, even though the government's recent economic reforms have shown some progress. Speaking in Abuja during the launch of the October 2025 Nigeria Development Update NDU report titled From Policy to People, Bringing the Reform Gains Home, the World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, Matthew Verghese, said the government's efforts to stabilize the economy could be wasted if they do not lead to real improvement in people's lives. Verghese praised the bold reforms in foreign exchange management and the removal of fuel subsidies, describing them as major steps that could reshape Nigeria's economy. However, Verghese warned that most Nigerians have yet to feel the impact of these positive changes, noting that poverty, which began rising in 2019 due to poor policies and external shocks like COVID-19, continues to grow despite the reforms. Verghese stressed that food inflation is the biggest concern, as high prices hurt everyone, especially the poor, and could weaken support for reforms. He also called on Nigeria to strengthen its financial management systems and expand the national safety net to protect the poorest citizens from the impact of economic adjustments. And now joining us via Zoom to discuss this is economist Aliyu Ilyas. Good evening and thank you for joining.
Good evening and thank you for having me.
All right, now the World Bank says 139 million Nigerians are projected to live in poverty despite ongoing reforms. Why do you think Nigerians are not feeling the positive effect of these policies?
Right, so the first challenge is the issue of the lag time, because in economics we have what we call lead and lag time. So the period between the implementation and the actual reality of it is a problem. But however, beyond the macroeconomic analysis and data that we are actually seeing, we must also look at it how it can actually translate to micro, to people who are the household and whatever. You have to move to people in the household. That simply means that the stability must move from stability to growth, and the growth must also be sustained to a particular extent before we can see that. You can see even from the analysis from World Bank, they said if care is not taken, Nigeria may not realize or benefit the impact of those reforms. That simply means we need some level of sustainability.
All right, now the report also highlights food inflation as the biggest concern. What's driving high food prices and how can government policy effectively bring relief?
I recall that in the year 2023, August specifically, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared state of emergency on food security. And as at September 2025, we also see that he said they should bring the price of food down. The major problem is that our major problem is food inflation, because if you look at the inflation basket, food is about 40% of this. So if food is 40% of that, food is not coming down, others are coming down. It simply means that over time it will still begin to rise up. And what are the problem of food inflation? Number one is food supply chain. Now, the food supply chain is the major problem. And what is the problem of food supply chain? We still go back to transportation. And what's the problem of transportation? We still go back to the first subsidy removal and all other alternatives that is being provided until we solve the issue, the legacy problem of insecurity, the issue of supply chain, the issue of transportation and the cost of it. We may not have a way out. A good example, you could buy a bag of onion, a bag of tomato at a particular rate, say 50,000 naira from the Kebbi, from Zamfara, but transporting it down to the next state or being to a place like Abuja or Lagos, you have to pay triple or double of it. So this is the problem of the food inflation. So until we look at it critically and provide a good solution, that's where we can move out of this problem.
All right, now, the World Bank praised Nigeria's forex reforms and fuel subsidy removal. Do you believe these steps are enough to deliver sustainable economic growth?
Sometimes when you look at World Bank, they will actually advise, I won't talk about Bretton Woods institution, well, they will bring about what you must do, removal of foreign subsidy, they actually advise us. Now we have actually done it. They are also saying that there are also problems in terms of implementation, or they should do otherwise. So sometimes they just need to look at geoeconomics when you look at the major problem and how to solve it internally. Because sometimes a borrowed policy may not actually solve the problem. So looking at what they actually see in terms of they are praising the policy. They also say that the policy is having negative impact on people. If you look at this critically, they also said there should be social safety nets for people and for us. We believe in a long-term solution to the Nigerian economy. So for me, I think the removal of foreign subsidy, the expected shock absorber to say have not actually realized its aim. Example, the CNG has not actually benefit people as expected. You know, a lot of people, for me, for instance, I have CNG converted, but I can tell you for the past 4 months, I did not go to queue for simply because of the level of the queue not available. We don't have enough stations to actually provide us. So until we look at those legacy problems, that's when we can say yes, we are going to have a better way out.
All right, thank you, Mr. Elias, for being part of this discussion. We are really appreciative.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right, now the Nigerian House of Representatives has rejected a narrative by the U.S. Senate describing the country's security challenges as a genocide against Christians or state-sponsored prosecution. The move comes after U.S. lawmaker Barely Moore urged Secretary of State Marco Rubio to take immediate diplomatic action over what he described as a systemic persecution and slaughter of Christians in Nigeria, which he called the deadliest place in the world for followers of the faith. The report.
In Moore's October 6 statement, the lawmaker called for Nigeria's redesignation as a country of particular concern, CPC, and for the suspension of arms sales until the Nigerian government demonstrates a tangible commitment to ending the violence. In a motion presented by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu and supported by all members of the House, lawmakers dismissed the narrative and directed the relevant committees to, within 21 days, collaborate with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Nigerian Embassy in Washington, D.C., and security agencies to file a formal diplomatic protest against the sponsors of the resolution.
The Speaker of the House is concerned that external legislative action based on incomplete or decontextualized assessments risks undermining Nigerian sovereignty, misrepresenting facts, straining strategic relations, and unintentionally emboldening violent actors.
Contributing to the motion, lawmakers including Julius Ihovere, Oluwole Oke, Sedesoli, and Billy Osaru warned that the proposed U.S. bill was based on misinformation and could damage Nigeria's international reputation. They called for stronger diplomatic engagement and the appointment of permanent envoys to the U.S. and UN.
The main problem here comes from one, those who deliberately demarket Nigeria outside the country, including Nigerians, for a variety of reasons. Two, gross misinformation deeply embedded in the nature of the American educational system.
I wouldn't want to dance into the arena as much. I support and I concur that this investigation should be thoroughly carried out.
This is the moment that this parliament should re-engineer its parliamentary diplomacy. We must re-engineer our parliamentary diplomacy and pursue this matter through the parliamentary process of the U.S. system.
Nigeria cannot afford to avoid global politics.
Just like my honorable senior colleague alluded, Honorable Sada Soli, that what we are seeing here is global politics, and we cannot shy away from it. It is not enough to say we are being targeted as a country.
In a development, the House urged the Federal Ministry of Works to include the reconstruction of the Kaba-Egbe Road in the 2026 budget and concession it to a private company for maintenance through tolls from heavy trucks. It also called on Dangote and Mango Cement companies to provide parking spaces for their trailers to reduce gridlock and road accidents. The resolution followed the motion by Lekki Abejide, who blamed the poor state of roads in Kogi West, particularly the Kaba-Egbe, Obajana Kaba and Kaba Iyamoye routes, on heavy-duty trucks owned by the two companies. He warned that the deteriorating roads have worsened insecurity and economic hardship in the area. Also, the House directed its committees on diaspora, university education, foreign affairs and anti-corruption to investigate the Federal Scholarship Board over alleged mismanagement of funds and non-payment of stipends to Nigerian students abroad since 2015. Sponsor of the motion, Chike Okafor, said many students are stranded overseas due to the board's failure to release their entitlements.
Cognizant that if the future leaders of Nigerians are abandoned in foreign lands due to administrative inefficiencies or corruption, it is a reflection of poor commitment to education and youth development. And as the people's representatives, legislators are under social contracts to protect Nigerian scholars on scholarships abroad from abuse and humiliation.
The House also urged the Nigerian Army and relevant military authorities to redeploy troops of the Multinational Joint Task Force to secure border communities of Kirawa and Gogo in Borno State, following a motion by Honorable Ahmed Jaha.
We are aware that the Multinational Joint Task Force operates under the political leadership of the African Union (AU) and the Lake Chad Basin Commission (LCBC) and conducts operations including aerial campaigns to destroy terrorist camps and disrupt illegal activities.
Meanwhile, a bill seeking to amend the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act allow public officers engaged in farming and philanthropic ventures passed second reading in the House. The bill was sponsored by Honorable Tersia Umor.
Now, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has called for decisive legislative action to establish a multi-level policing system in Nigeria, describing it as a crucial step towards addressing the nation's deepening security challenges. Abbas made the call on Wednesday during a public hearing on the Private Intelligence and Investigation Council Bill 2024, organized by the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence, represented by the member representing Ilorin West Asha Federal Constituency, Mukhtar Shagaya. The Speaker said creating state police through a constitutional amendment remains a viable option that deserves serious national consideration. Abbas reaffirmed the House's commitment to reform that would enhance public safety and strengthen Nigeria's overall security architecture. Speaking earlier, the chairman of the House Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Ahmad Satomi, said the proposed legislation would mark a major step towards strengthening Nigeria's national security architecture through the regulation and professionalization of private intelligence operations.
The rationale for today's public hearing is clear and timely. The bill before this committee seeks to develop a regulatory framework for overseeing private intelligence and investigation firms, ensuring that they operate ethically, responsibly, and within established professional standards. It aims to implement uniform practices that will raise service quality and promote best industry standards. The bill also provides for continuous training and capacity development to enable professionals in this sector to respond effectively to emerging security challenges.
Our country faces complex security challenges, from insurgency to cybercrime. Strengthening our security architecture requires innovative approaches, includes effective regulation of private security services. In 2024, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS, reported a staggering 51.89 million household crime incidents between May 2023 and April 2021, with kidnapping alone accounting for 2.2 million incidents and 2.23 trillion ransom payment during the same period.
Now, the Lagos State Special Offences Court Ikeja, presided over by Justice Rahman Oshodi, will on Thursday, October 9, 2025, deliver a ruling on the admissibility of critical digital evidence presented by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) in the ongoing trial of the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. It will be recalled that the former CBN helmsman is facing a 19-count charges of alleged fraud alongside his co-defendant Henry Omoele, slammed against them by the anti-graft agency. Justice Rahman arrived at the date after a fierce argument ensued between counsels involved in the case over the authenticity and the certification of documents extracted from a former executive assistant to the CBN governor. Before this development, counsel for the EFCC, Rotimi Oyedepo's son, had continued with the testimony of Alvan Gurumnan, an operative of the anti-graft agency, who detailed the digital trial uncovered during the investigation. The evidence presented included WhatsApp conversations between key individuals in the case. Now, at least one 13-year-old herder, Abubakar Wada, and 36 cattle have been killed, while 49 others remain missing after gunmen opened fire on grazing animals around Inzom community in Fan district of Barkiladi local government area of Plateau State. According to the state chairman of the Miete Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Magban, Ibrahim Yusuf Babayo, the attack occurred on Tuesday evening when 3 herders were returning from grazing. Ado Musa completes the reports.
The herders explained that the gunman stormed the grazing area and opened fire on them, killing one herder on the spot while the other 2 narrowly escaped. They said they immediately reported the incident to the security agencies, adding that the Chief of Staff Operation Enduring Peace, the Divisional Police Officer in Barkiladi, and the Sector Commander in the area have since visited the area. The Magban accused members of the Birom ethnic group of carrying out the attack, an allegation denied by the national president of the group, Solomon Daliob, who maintained that his members are peaceful. One of the survivors narrated how the attack unfolded.
I
was following the cattle when I started hearing gunshots. My younger brother Abubakar was killed instantly. Before I could understand what was happening, the attackers had already killed Abubakar and several cattle. We were grazing with 85 cattle when the gunmen opened fire on us. The father of the deceased also recounted how he received the devastating news. I was in the cattle market when I was informed that my son and our cattle had been shot dead. The rest of the cattle were rustled. There was no justification for the attack because there was no incident of farm destruction. Cattle. Some were killed while others were taken away.
While
Magban has called for calm, the acting deputy director, public relations, 3 Division of the Nigerian Army, Lieutenant Colonel Aliu Enja, said the incident is under investigation. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Residents of Bagagadi and Kuki communities in Duzima local government area of Katsina State have raised concerns over renewed activities of bandits who, according to them, now cross over from Safana, Damusa and Batsari and Duzema to neighboring areas where there are no peace deals to continue their attacks. Residents of the affected communities who recently sought a truce with the bandits, hoping to end years of violence, are now lamenting that the bandits are now shifting their operations to nearby areas such as Kankia, Kusada and Ingawa, which were previously peaceful. In Katsina, Abdullahi Yamadi visited the two communities in Duzema local government areas and now reports.
Kochi lies about 6 kilometers while Bagagadi is roughly 1.5 kilometers off the Duzema Kankia road near Ratna village. With a combined population of over 5,000 residents, mostly farmers and traders, both communities have enjoyed about 1 month of relative peace without bandit attacks. However, residents remain haunted by painful memories. They recalled how 25 people, including women and children, were killed, dozens abducted, and millions of naira paid in ransom in separate attacks over the past 2 decades. They also recounted how the attacks left behind numerous orphans and widows struggling with poverty and emotional trauma. The villagers lamented that despite peace efforts, bandits have continued to unleash terror, raiding homes, raping women, abducting victims, and rustling livestock with little or no intervention from security forces. We can't say there is real peace. Our neighboring communities are attacked almost every day. Hundreds have been displaced. Every evening, people from neighboring communities come to Ratna, Bagagadi, and Kuki and gather here to spend the night in fear of bandits' attacks, despite the peace deal. To be honest, people here have suffered untold hardship from bandits. Our loved ones were killed or kidnapped, thousands of animals rustled, and our livelihood destroyed. There's only partial peace now. Despite the peace deal, residents say they still live in constant fear, as bandits often pass through their communities with large herds of animals, allegedly stolen from neighboring local governments and even parts of Kano State. They revealed that just last Sunday, a man identified as Damfulani was killed in a nearby settlement close to Bagagadi, an incident they say further exposes the insincerity of the so-called repentant bandits. This so-called peace deal is nothing but deception. The bandits move freely to areas without peace deals, kill, abduct, and rustle animals. Then they come here pretending to be peaceful. We are appealing to the authorities to intervene immediately. There should be a uniform peace deal covering the entire state. Right now, the bandits are taking us for granted, deceiving us just to expand their territories. The residents accused the bandits of using peace deals merely as a strategy to expand their territories, calling on relevant authorities to act decisively to protect lives and property. Abdullahi Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, the Nigerian Senate has called for the establishment of a permanent military base in Kwara South to serve as a rapid response hub, urging the deployment of additional troops and special forces to comb the forest and restore normalcy. This follows a motion of urgent national importance presented during Wednesday's plenary by Senator Ashiru Oyelola, representing Kwara South, highlighting the worsening security crisis in the region. Senator Oyelola noted that the Kwara South Senatorial District is under siege. Communities across Ifelodun, Isin, Ekiti, and Okero local government areas are reeling from a wave of deadly bandit attacks, kidnappings, and assassinations that have displaced thousands and left dozens dead. Other lawmakers in their contributions expressed concern over the rising insecurity even in their constituency, despite efforts by security agencies calling for more effort in tackling the menace.
Concerned that at least 142 persons have been kidnapped and over 70 killed in the last 12 months across Kwara South, with no fewer than 25 communities deserted due to recurring attacks, leading to severe human displacement and disruption of social and economic life.
No one can downplay that men in uniform and women in uniform are fighting hard to protect us. We don't need to urge them to refocus, to re-strategize.
Once we strengthen our government system, we have had a pathway to fighting insecurity. Our grassroots are where these criminals come from. So every effort must be done to strengthen the machinery of government at the grassroots.
Progress is being made. There is a renewed resurgence. We need this Senate to tell the armed forces to be reporting progress every week so that state by state, otherwise it will be a mess of all issues and we will not be seeing progress.
The trajectory of the movement of insecurity in this country, if not nipped in the bud, has the potential of consuming the whole country.
Decisive, go in there and do their best in dealing with the situation. It is sad, particularly those who are kidnapped as we speak. I think the first thing is to try to get them rescued.
Now, the Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission (PCACC) has launched a fresh probe into the alleged diversion of over 4 billion naira by the administration of former Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje into the Dala Inland Dry Port project. The commission says the funds were released in 2020 under the guise of infrastructural development, even though the state's 20% equity stake was allegedly transferred to members of the Ganduje family. PCACC Chairman Saidu Yahaya confirmed the investigation, revealing that several persons of interest have been invited for questioning, with one individual already arrested and released on bail. Meanwhile, the management of Dala Inland Dry Port has strongly denied any ownership linked to the Ganduje family or the Kano State government, describing the allegation as false and politically motivated. The company insists Kano State never held equity in the project, saying its role was limited to providing infrastructure as part of a corporate social responsibility initiative. Now, a witness of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has told a high court in the Federal Capital Territory that no banking regulation was violated in the withdrawals made by the Kogi State Government House Administration under former Governor Yahaya Bello. Testifying before Justice Marianne Aneni, Mrs. Williams Abimbola, a compliance officer with United Bank for Africa (UBA), said all withdrawals by one of the defendants, Abdul Salami Hudu, were within the legal cash limit of 10 million naira. She explained that the transactions were done in accordance with banking guidelines, adding that the bank was not required to demand reasons for cash withdrawals as long as the account mandate was valid. On that cross-examination, she confirmed that multiple withdrawals of 10 million naira each were made between July 31 and August 6, 2019, but maintained that the bank acted within the law. Another witness, Jesu Tony Akoin, a compliance officer with EcoBank, was also called by the EFCC but faced objections from the defense over the admissibility of certain documents. Justice Aneni adjourned the case to October 9, 2025 for continuation of hearing. Now, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned the trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, on alleged terrorism to October 16th. The trial was adjourned following the inability of the Nigerian Medical Association to present its report on the health status of Kanu to the court. At the last adjourned date, Justice Omotosho ordered the president of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, to constitute a board of medical experts to investigate the alleged deteriorating health of the defendant and to determine whether the medical facility at the Department of State Services DSS headquarters is adequate for his care or if he should be moved to a private ward at the National Hospital. The report is also to determine whether Kanu is fit to stand for the continuation of his trial. At the day's proceeding, counsel to the FG Suraj Saad informed the court that the medical board had contacted them that the report was not ready for presentation as directed by the court. The senior lawyer therefore applied for a week adjournment to enable the NME medical board conclude its investigation.
Yesterday, medical council sat on the issue that has to do with Professor Aj. And when I got the information, I went to that place because I've written a petition against the DSSS doctor, the one that never examined Masin and the Kalan, wrote a report. That was a couple of years ago, and nothing happened. Then I also wrote another one against the doctor that never examined Namdekalo, but had the audacity to depose 37 paragraph affidavit, countering the report of Professor Aj. But surprisingly, they left to my own petition and they treated another issue. And when I confronted them with it, so they succeeded in intimidating me and harassing me with a petition against me at the FTDC. But that one is a different program altogether. Now to the president, Mr. President, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, please, as a matter of urgency, direct Attorney General to discontinue this funny charge. This charge is embarrassing Nigeria the more. And the more they keep on applying for adjournment. I know that they must have advised you, telling you that they don't have a case. Right, I'm saying. So in order to protect the integrity of Nigeria, please allow them to discontinue this particular charge, and then so that the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will continue with his agitation.
Now, the federal government has urged the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU to call off its planned nationwide strike set to begin on October 13. At a press briefing this Wednesday, the Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alausa, appealed to the union to shelve the strike while assuring that the government is actively working to address ASU's concerns. These include improving staff welfare, securing sustainable funding for universities, and renegotiating long-standing agreement. The federal government position comes amid rising tensions, with calls from various stakeholders urging both ASU and the government to prioritize dialogue over industrial action to safeguard students' education and the nation's academic progress.
At this point, we've addressed several of the issues that you brought up. The end academic allowance has been paid. The government president released 50 billion. That's been paid months ago. Even the needs assessment that tertiary institutions have been fighting for almost 15 years. President put 150 billion naira in this 2025 budget, and he promised us that they will release it in tranches of 50 billion, in tranches of 3 tranches. We have the 50 billion now waiting. So this president is meeting all the commitments, all the promises to the unions. Your promotion areas, the issues have been resolved. We've spoken to the DG budget. Issues have been resolved. By next year, in 2026, all areas will be paid, including the 25-35 wage award, the issues of other allowances teaching allowances and all those are not being paid.
This is the news on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Protests erupt in Lagos over audio on urine killings. More news when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is the news on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. World Bank projects 139 million Nigerians face poverty despite reforms. And reps reject US bill accusing Nigeria of religious killings. Now moving on to more stories, Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital territory, is facing worsening public services from faulty traffic lights, causing gridlocks and accidents to poor waste management, turning street into dump site. In this report, Aisha Jerry looks at how these failures are affecting daily life.
At key intersections in Wuse, Garki and the Central Business District, faulty traffic lights have become a source of confusion. Drivers and pedestrians struggle to move through the city as many of the lights are either malfunctioning or completely out of service.
The next to the traffic light is not working. Past 2 years. And the one by the Lubon Junction before Jabi Garage is not working. The one at Jabi Junction, that Jabi Garage Junction, is not working. The one after Jabi is not working. At times, many days in a week, at least we are experiencing at least 2-3 accidents for that traffic lights.
Eyewitnesses say the faulty lights don't just cause traffic chaos, they also increase the risk of accidents. Across the city, waste is another growing concern. Piles of uncollected refuse now lying in major roads like Wuse, Garki and Gwarimpa, posing serious health risks. Residents complain about the foul smell and fear of outbreaks of respiratory and waterborne diseases.
So I believe that our government really need to do a lot about it, because it seems like the board has not been awakened to its responsibility. Hence you can see almost everywhere refuse dump that are not being catered for by the board. So because this is their major responsibility, and not just because we collecting their rate from various buildings or parastatals. So they should come to the streets and then clear all these trashes, because that's part of their work. You can see now that some people do drop dustbin waste improperly, even though the government usually warn people not to do that. So improper disposal of waste will really affect our health condition.
Irregular waste collection and poor disposal systems have left many residents to manage their own waste. We also spoke to a civil society advocate who shed light on the deeper causes of these problems and possible solutions.
They were very up and running, seemed to be very, very effective in the discharge of their duty, which of course revolved around the cleanliness of the city. But in recent times, those responsibility appear to have been failing in discharging that responsibility, and the evidence is everywhere. The city is no longer as clean as it used to be, almost everywhere, especially when you hit some of the suburban parts of the city. Waste disposals are done along the roads for weeks without anybody taking out those wastages. It appears clearly that the APB is out of depth in terms of discharging that responsibility.
The frustrations of residents and the insights from experts point to one thing: Abuja's deteriorating services needs urgent attention. It's a call for the authorities to act fast and restore the city's image as a capital that truly works for its people.
Now, local investors have expressed renewed confidence in harnessing the full potential of Bauchi State's abundant resources to accelerate economic growth. They made this known shortly after the opening day of the Bauchi Investment Summit held at the International Conference Center. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports.
The Bauchi Investment Summit witnessed a large turnout of both local and foreign investors from various sectors of the economy. Members of the business community, community leaders, and the diplomatic corps commended Governor Bala Muhammad for organizing the summit aimed at showcasing Bauchi's investment opportunities.
Very much so. As both the Vice President, Senator Shatima, and the Sultan emphasized, holding a conference for investment is one thing. The next thing is follow up to ensure that people are Bauchi benefit. This is a very interesting program, and I don't know how to explain because the many investors came from outside Bauchi State and also outside Nigeria. So we really appreciate for the effort of His Excellency for this wonderful job, and we are very, very proud of it. Make sure that we put in place a follow-up mechanism. If we have investors and we come into agreement that they are going to make certain investment in the state, after they must have gone back to their various locations, we are going to follow it up. We are not just going to relent. We are going to follow it up to encourage them to come and make the investment they place to make in the state, so that at the end of the day, they reap the benefit of their investment and the state also benefit.
I can venture into one of them, and I learned today that Bauchi is one of the states in Nigeria with the highest youth population. Do you understand me? So I feel like coming here makes me want to do more. It gives me the motivation and the drive that I need as a young entrepreneur.
However, other notable speakers at the summit urged northern governors to take advantage of the region's vast resources and opportunities to drive meaningful development rather than limiting themselves to rhetoric during their periodic meetings. Adamu Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the Center for Human and Socio-Economic Rights, CHSR, has led a peaceful protest in Lagos, demanding justice and accountability over what it described as the Ode Onirin bloodbath. The group accused the Nigerian police and the Lagos State Ministry of Justice of complicity and inaction in the wake of the violent killings that rocked the community. During the protest, dozens of protesters gathered at the testing ground, radio bus stop, and marched to the Lagos State House of Assembly in Alausa, Ikeja, carrying placards with inscriptions such as "Justice for Ode Onirin victims" and "End police complicity." The demonstrators chanted solidarity songs and called for transparency in the handling of the case. CHSR President Comrade Alex Omoteyinse, who led the march, said the protest was aimed at condemning what he described as the deliberate silence and complicity of authorities following the killings in Ode Onirin, a Lagos community recently torn apart by violent clashes.
On the 27th of August, about 5 months later, or 3 months later or 4, Ariari-led teams of cops and policemen came to the market at about 7-8 a.m. on Wednesday 27th of August. The policemen shot radically. They killed 6 young men, unarmed 6 young men. No protest in the market, no riot. Yes, the Lagos State Police Command made a statement that those policemen were on illegal duty, but they are not from Lagos State. We rejoice that we get justice. But we are aware that those policemen were transferred to Abuja for the trial. Only on Friday to read from the first newspaper that the police authority killed the policemen, claiming they act of self-defense to kill 6 people. 6 innocent people. You will see where there's no riot, where there's no protest.
Now, the Ogun State government-owned Gateway International Airport has commenced commercial flight with its maiden flight from Iperu, Ilishan to Abuja, the nation's capital. The Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, who could not hide his feelings and excitement, described the project as a legacy expected to drive economic development of the state. Passengers who were part of the maiden commercial flight also commended the state government, saying it will reduce the stress of accessing the ever-busy Murtala Muhammad International Airport in Lagos. The reports.
The 4-kilometer runaway Gateway International Airport, located in Iperu, Elishan, Ikene local government, is part of the legacy project and multimodal transport plans of the state government to promote ease of doing business for economic development. The project, which commenced in 2021, is now a reality as the Director General of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, other regulatory agencies, members of the State Executive Council, members of the National and State Assembly, traditional rulers joined the governor in unveiling the commencement of the commercial flight.
This airport is not just an airport. It's an airport in an airport city. This airport is in a special processing zone sitting on 8,000 hectares. In this processing zone we have the Nigerian Customs sitting on 100 hectares. They are building a customs village. We've got industry setting up here. We are going to have the biggest textile plant in the world happening here, and many other agro processing industry. So the business case of this airport is further reinforced, besides the fact that it's an airport in the Gateway State, the industrial capital of Nigeria. So
grateful to God that this is happening in our own time, and we're witnessing it. We are part of it. I'm happy that Ogun State is being projected to the world in our own time. This is a sign that Nigeria is going to be better.
Definitely from airports, so many things, spring up. So definitely that's the economic development. We expect that more investors will be attracted to this place. We expect that more housing estates will be attracted to this place. We also expect that quite a number of other businesses that are allied to airline operation will also be attracted to this place.
The airport project is expected to expand the economic growth and development of the state. After the necessary airport checks and documentations, passengers moved to the tarmac where they board the first commercial flight. The Director General of the NACA commended the governor for strict adherence to the dictate of the regulatory agencies, just as he expressed further support for the airport's smooth operation.
So very elated, very proud. You can hear the testament of His Excellency the Governor of Ogun State that he was very particular. He was very proud that the NCA, the regulators, did their job in total. The checklist, we made sure everything was done and covered, and we will still be. It's a testament of what we do in the NCA to make sure that all the gaps are closed. Without that, we wouldn't have given this approval.
The international airport is expected to commence cargo operations with the current flight to Lagos and Abuja. From Abeokuta, Abbas Ibrahim Alibi, Trust TV.
Now in business, the WTO has raised its forecast for trade volume growth in 2025 to 2.4%, up from 0.9% in August, and cut its 2026 outlook from 1.8% to 0.5%. In its global trade outlook, WTO said global merchandise trade outpaced expectations in the first half of 2025, driven by increased spending on AI-related products, a surge in North American imports ahead of the tariff hikes, and strong trade among the rest of the world. In a rare move, the WTO has revised its estimates several times this year due to uncertainties surrounding the impact of the new tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Since returning to office in January, Trump has slapped several waves of new tariffs on imports entering the United States. His administration has imposed a basic tariff of 10% on all countries since April, with much higher rates for some economies. But the former Nigerian finance minister said trade resilience this year should not fool countries into complacency. And now on the foreign scene, youth protesters in Madagascar on Wednesday rejected an offer to join President Andry Rajoelina's national dialogue with various groups, accusing his government of repression after weeks of demonstrations in the African island nation. Inspired by similar Gen Z movement in Kenya and Nepal, the protests that started on September 25 posed the biggest challenge to Rajoelina's government since his re-election in 2023. Giving voice to widespread discontent over rampant poverty and high-level corruption. He said the talks would be attended by spiritual leaders, students, youth representatives and others, but the move have failed to ease public anger, and the so-called Gen Z movement said they would not hold talks with the government as long as authorities respond to their demonstrations with force. University students were expected to take to the street again on Wednesday following a 48-hour ultimatum issued by the protesters on Monday night for Rajoelina to agree to their demands or face a national strike. Although the demonstrations were initially sparked by water and electricity shortages, demands have now expanded to include calls for Rajoelina to leave office, apologize to the nation, and dissolve the Senate and the Election Commission. It is now time for Sports Update with Joseph Peter.
The head coach of the Nigerian Super Eagles, Eric Sekushel, will have a total of 20 players for the Super Eagles' second training session on Wednesday in Polokwane, ahead of Friday's very crucial 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match against the Crocodiles of Lesotho. As at Tuesday night, 18 players were in the team's The Ranch Hotel, with Portugal-based defender Zaidu Sanusi and Spain-based forward Jerome Ako Adams set to join the group on Wednesday. United States of America-based midfielder Hassan Yusuf Abdullahi is expected to land in South Africa on Thursday. Coach Eric Schell has had to tinker the team following injuries to defender Bright Osai Samuel and forward Cyril Desas, bringing in Sanusi and Crystal Palace of England's Chrysanthus Uche. Injury to wing-back Felix Agu had cut the squad from 23 to 22. Also, Russia-based former junior international Olakunle Olusegun is yet to be issued with an entry visa into South Africa, meaning Nigeria could probably prosecute the encounter with 21 players. The Super Eagles is preparing for the Matchday 9 encounter, which is being for the new Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane, South Africa on Friday, 10th October 2025, and will kick off at 6 p.m. South Africa time, 5 p.m. Nigeria time. That's Sport News. I'm Joseph Peter.
And with that, we have come to the end of the news on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms and also watch us live on YouTube for more news programs and documentaries. I am Idris Ayebature, thanking you for being with us. Good evening.